out messages about fires. People respond. The public wants to know. We send out information about flooding and flooding danger, and we have like crickets in the room and a couple people show up. And so that's why we're doing this today, because we need to organize and inform the public about a very clear and present danger. And to do that, we are having a community meeting Monday, January 8th from 5 to 6 at the Board of Supervisors hearing room, which is the 4th floor of that ugly building of ours at Anapamu and Anacapa, the county admin building. It's beautiful from my vantage point, but and it's going to be streamed on county TV, CSB TV, Channel 20, county YouTube channel, and county Facebook at County of SB. I want to say one other editorial comment. If you really want our community to get through post-fire well, not only do we need to prepare as a community for what could come, but we also need to proactively help the folks who have suffered the most. And I got to tell you, a lot of those are our business owners. And so the other good thing I got to put in there is we have to shop locally if we want some of these businesses to survive losing out on a holiday season, which for many of them is devastating. So with that, I want to turn it over to Gina and our first responders.
Thank you, Supervisor. We're going to let each of our experts here come up one at a time. They'll introduce themselves, and we're going to start with the National Weather Service. Mark?
Thank you, Gina. My name is Mark Jackson. I'm the meteorologist in charge for the National Weather Service office that's located in Oxnard, of which covers the four-county area from Los Angeles County up to San Luis Obispo County. We're expecting the first significant winter storm of the season, which, given how little rain or no rain that we've had recently, any storm would be significant. But this is a very significant storm in that we have a very fresh burn area that's actually not even completely contained. And with that, we have the potential for heavy rain, moderate to heavy rain, which will move through the area, in this particular area, Monday night into early Tuesday. So at this point, we're fairly certain on the rainfall amounts. We're not quite as certain on the timing. But as far as rainfall amounts go, we're expecting anywhere from 1 to 2 inches of rainfall down here in the Coast and Valley. As you go up into the foothills and the mountains, we could see 2 to 4 inches up in the foothills and the mountains. What's most important, though, is the rainfall rates that we're expecting with this storm system. Because with the potential for mud and debris flows and flash flooding in recent burn areas, it's the high-intensity, short-duration rainfall that is of greatest concern. And in the peak of the storm, which will likely be for this area Monday night, we're looking at the possibility of a half-inch to 1 inch per hour rain rates, and even possibly higher with the potential for thunderstorms that might move through the area. So when you get that kind of rain rate on a fresh burn area, the water literally runs right off the surface of the burn area. It carries with it anything that's loose, any sort of dirt, any sort of mud, any sort of rocks, any sort of burned timber that comes down the hillside. We work very closely with the United States Geological Survey on our debris flow warning program. And what they do is they determine the potential for debris flows within a recent burn area. And they've already made their assessment on the Thomas burn area. And I will tell you that the area that is above Carpinteria and some of this area, some of the higher potential areas for mud and debris flows, you get even higher potential as you go over to the backcountry on the other side. But it is of great concern to the National Weather Service. We will be monitoring this very closely for rainfall. We also have the potential for very strong south winds. Ahead of the storm system as it moves through, we could have some wind speed gusts up over 40 miles an hour down here on the coast out of the south. Higher wind speeds up in the mountains, possibly damaging winds up in the mountains in the higher elevation. So, again, we'll be working very closely with the city and the county officials as this storm system develops. We have a briefing this afternoon for our partners. And as the weekend moves on, and as we get into our early part of next week, we'll have better clarity on what this storm system will be doing. And the one saving grace in this storm system, I will say, that is that it'll move through fairly quickly. So by late Tuesday, as the day goes on Tuesday, it'll start drying out a little bit. We'll have some shower potential maybe Tuesday. But then at this point now, it looks drier all the way through the rest of next week. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tom Fayram with the Santa Barbara County Public Works Department with the Flood Control District. Wanted to mention that one of the things of having the press conference here is, were it not foggy, you could see the hillsides behind us, and it really gives a clear picture of what the threat is we're facing. It's a significant threat to our community, and we have not seen a fire of this magnitude over such a broad area that impacts so much of our county. I want to report that the Flood Control District has been working very fast, as the supervisor mentioned, to clear out 11 debris basins that are below the burn area. We're fortunate to have these facilities in place. I'm happy to report that that work will be done by the end of today in advance of these storms. And I want to thank our crews and contractors that gave up much of their holiday period to be able to get this work done. We can't stress enough the fact that this is a significant risk to our community, and it's going to be a risk that will go on for a period of time. It isn't just about this storm. It will be for this season and next season, at least. So we need to be prepared to deal with that. It's critical that property owners and residents are aware of their environment and that they understand where they are in relationship to the burn area and some of the flood hazards that I believe Mr. Lewin will talk about as well. We also have resources on our county website to help people protect their property. It's a shared responsibility. What the Flood Control District is doing is not enough. You have to protect your property and your own self as well. The risk from this fire is estimated to be 10 times greater than a normal year. So it is a very real risk and should be taken serious. It's also very important to understand that after an event, if we have sufficient rainfall, many of the transportation facilities may not be operational. Our roads, US 101, we've seen how US 101 was impacted after previous fires. And so mobility could be a problem, and that needs to factor into your planning as well. Lastly, we've been talking about this since the fire was still going on. If you feel you need flood insurance, you should get that at this point. Do not wait. There's a question as to whether or not there's a waiting period for that flood insurance to be available. Normally it's 30 days. However, we are working, and it may be on a case-by-case basis, to see if an imminent flood threat would qualify people who buy flood insurance to make a claim. But that should not stop you, because this hazard goes beyond this storm. And so if you feel you need flood insurance, you should get that immediately. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Robert Lewin. I'm the Director of the Office of Emergency Management and currently leading the actions that are taking place in the Emergency Operations Center. This community and the responders to the Thomas Fire have been under a lot. It's difficult what we've all had to endure in order to get through this long, difficult disaster. But unfortunately, we can't ease up on that now. We have to continue our efforts in being prepared. We have to continue our efforts in providing contingency planning to make sure that everything is ready on the response side, as well as looking at what the potential impacts will be. So with that, we need all of the community to be prepared. And unfortunately, it's difficult to understand where you are and how to adapt and be prepared to do that. So we're going to share some tools with you. First, let me say that this fire has damaged 17 major canyons in our community and many unnamed ones. There has not been a fire that has taken out that much of our watershed. Those canyons are affected from essentially sea level all the way up to the top of the Camino Cielo. The risk from flash floods, as Mr. Fayram stated, is now 10 times greater. This is significant. We need to make sure that the community is ready, but unfortunately, unlike in the fire where we can merely say to evacuate ahead of time, in this case, sometimes evacuation isn't the best choice. Sometimes the best thing for people to do is to go to their neighbor's home that's on high ground to get out of harm's way. Sometimes the best action is to merely shelter in place. And unfortunately, this is something that each citizen, each resident is going to have to determine. And we're going to provide the very best tools that we can to give you that ability to make those decisions. One of the most important things that people need to do is they need to sign up for alerts. You do that at awareandprepare.org. If you are not already signed up for alerts and you are in one of these risk areas, you need to do this now. It's a simple process. So please take that time and sign up so that we can get you as much notice as we can. Unfortunately, we don't get a lot of warning with weather. We knew the fire was marching towards Santa Barbara County, and we had time to do planned evacuations. But unfortunately, with weather events, sometimes we have as little as 30 minutes before a band of rain is going to hit the burn areas. Sometimes we have no notice. So we need you all to sign up to make sure that we can provide as much notice as we can, but we also need you to have good self-awareness. Make sure you have a plan for your home and your family. Make sure you have a disaster kit ready. Make sure your car always has fuel in it. Make sure you have the ability to handle a power outage. These are important steps that you need to take, and we have many pieces of information on our website at countyofsantabarbara.org that can help you provide that. The other information that I need to now share with you is that we've just posted this morning an interactive map on the website, again, countyofsb.org website, and you can go there and you can look and put your address in and determine if you are in a risk area. So just for a moment here, I'm going to describe the risk areas. On the map over here on my left, and also on the interactive map that is now displayed on the television screen, you will be able to see that there is 4 critical areas that are impacted. The first one is for those people that live within the burn area. If you live within the burn area, the threat to you is to have rocks and debris coming into your property, as well as the impacts from water courses. The next impact area is the areas immediately around the perimeter of the fire. That can be up to a quarter mile depending on what the geography of your property is. Again, you need to be careful there. There's going to be the potential for very large rocks and debris and water and mud to move onto your property. The third area of concern is those people that live near water courses such as creeks. Those can become raging rivers of water and mud and rocks and debris. And if you live near one of those, you need to understand that. And you also need to have the plan that the roads, your driveways and roads, may not be passable during those times. And then the fourth area of concern is the areas in the lowlands, the areas such as Carpinteria and the lower lands of Montecito. Those areas can be have extra potential for flooding, and that flooding can include mud. While the impact may not be as fast and as furious as the upper areas, it will still be potentially damaging and deadly. So we need everyone that is in one of those areas to understand that and to take the preparation that they can to be prepared. And finally, the analysis that we're doing to do this had to move very quickly. But we will continue to do the analysis on these risk areas. We have with us today the team leaders for the burn area emergency response team from the U.S. Forest Service, and we have the watershed emergency response team leader from CAL FIRE. Their group of people, and they'll be speaking here in a second, will be here for a long time continuing to do on-the-ground analysis. And to them, I just want to say thank you for all you're doing to help us out. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Cooper, and I'm the Burned Area Emergency Response Team Leader for the Los Padres National Forest. And the Burned Area Emergency Response Team and the California Watershed Emergency Response Team, who will be speaking next, are looking at the increased risk to life and property from the changes in that landscape and the post-fire effects from the rainfall on that burned area. Obviously, when that area burns off and there's no vegetation, the rain that comes is going to behave very differently. Also, the soil has been heated and has changed quite differently. So our role is to really assess what those changes are and bring this information so that we can create these kinds of maps. One of the first things we do is create what's called a soil burn severity map. That is used to create that debris flow map that National Weather Service talked about, and hence these other safety maps that we're looking at now. So that's what our teams have been up to for the last few weeks, and will continue to go that way. Some of the hazards that we're looking at from this, as you've heard before, include increased erosion off the hill slopes and sedimentation into our streams and some of those areas where we have reservoirs. We've got flooding concerns. There's rockfall concerns. When that vegetation's gone, now that rockfall can come down off those slopes and can be dangerous. That's also a hazard for our roads, but homes out there also. And I think the most dangerous thing that we've talked about and we expect to possibly happen, particularly on the storm coming, is something called the debris flow. And as you heard, debris flow is kicked off by these high-intensity rain events, anywhere from around an inch an hour, which we expect to see on the storm. And it picks up that sand and silt and gravel and rocks. It's very powerful and it moves very quickly. And even though we have rain gauges on the ridgeline, once those detect that level of rainfall, the debris flows may have been initiated, and it does not leave a lot of time, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes before it even comes down this far. So it's really important to keep up your situational awareness of the weather if you live in these areas, and to respect the alerts. The alerts are going to be very important. Just waiting for notification that it's coming is going to be too late. In this case, we've seen that we have to be conservative, and there's likely to be some false alarms. You'll hear alerts, but you won't see it happen. It doesn't mean the next storm, it's not going to happen. So please keep up your situational awareness and know that these things can keep coming. We've created that soil burn severity map that we've looked at, and that's available. The debris flow map is created from USGS from that soil burn severity map. Those are both done and used for our teams. The Bear team is out there assessing the impacts to the issues that are particularly on the National Forest Service lands, and the CAL FIRE WERT team, Watershed Emergency Response Team, is looking at these areas on the front country. So they'll be speaking with you next. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Len Nielsen. I'm with CAL FIRE, and I'm working with the Watershed Emergency Response Team here for the Thomas Fire. We have engaged here locally within the Santa Barbara area along the Thomas Fire burn area in order to identify the values at risk. These values at risk include people's homes, the roadways, and other infrastructure within and below the burn area. Right now, currently, we have two teams identified and working on evaluations on the burn area and below the burn area to identify these values at risk. Once we've identified these values at risk with engineers and geologists and hydrologists using the debris flow analysis, that map was produced from USGS, coming from the soil burn severity map that the U.S. Forest Service validated, we go in there and look at the roads and the houses and see if debris flows may impact people's homes. Once we have that information and have those values at risk identified, we hand that off to the county. When a value is at risk becomes a life safety hazard and we have identified that, then we immediately hand that off to the county. And currently, every day with Kevin Cooper and Rob Lewin, we are working usually twice a day, coordinating our efforts in order to protect you folks here in Santa Barbara County. I would like to emphasize the importance of your own situational awareness. It is very important that you utilize this interactive map that's been put together if you can. Access it, find out where you live in relationship to these hazards that may be coming to your home. The important thing here with the watershed, because it's burned off, is that the lag time that the water takes to go from the top of the ridge to the ocean is greatly reduced. Kevin mentioned about 6 miles away is the burn area. Well, instead of taking that a day to come down the hill, it's going to take 15 to 20 minutes. That's not very long for that water that comes from the ridge line to the ocean. That water moves very fast because there's no vegetation to absorb it. It's been removed from the fire. The soil is basically the organic structure in the top layer of the soil is gone because it burned off. So there's nothing to absorb that. The soil acting as a sponge does not exist anymore. So that's why the time lag is so short between rainfall and duration. And that's why these duration storms, this 1 to 2 inch storm coming, is very significant. Like Rob Lewin said, 10 times, and Tom Fram, 10 times more than normal. That is what we expect, and that's why we're here today, to tell you guys to be careful and to know your situational awareness. We are out there looking, working together, cooperating to identify these values at risk, but it is critical that you identify your own situational awareness and your values and what you have around you that may impact you as an individual. Please, again, be aware of your situational awareness. Please use the interactive map, and please sign up for Aware and Prepare. Thank you.
My name is Kelly Moore. I'm a commander with the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department in charge of this area and would be the one responsible for coordinating evacuations. It's been said several times before, you need to be aware of your situation. The difference, the threat that is provided by a fire is completely different than the threat provided by weather and flooding. The fire is visible, rain and weather. While you see it, the threat is actually how it moves on the ground and where it comes from. So we will get very little warning. Be ready to go now. Know your escape routes. Know how you're going to get from your home to a safe area in a moment's notice. Have items of importance to you. Have those identified, packed in your car and ready to go. Understand that many of the roads in our area are very narrow and there's only one exit point. So if you're in those areas, you need to be especially aware of the need to evacuate early. You may not get that from us in time. So please take heed, understand your situation, and make the correct decision yourself. Don't necessarily wait for somebody to say it's time to go, because it actually may be too late by the time we are able to do that. Also the areas that will be affected by flood are areas that weren't necessarily directly affected by the fire. So if you're downstream, that could be a significant issue for you where you really weren't affected directly by the fire. So understand that everyone in this area, and this is not only Santa Barbara County, but Ventura County as well, that they're going to be affected by this. So understand your situation and assist us. Know where you are, what zone you are in, and what the threat is to you. We are ready to respond as best we can. It's your responsibility to be aware and ready to go at a moment's notice. Thank you. Chief.
Good morning. My name is Ray Navarro, Fire Chief for Carpinteria Summerlin Fire District, and I want to leave us on an encouraging note. First of all, I want to acknowledge the efforts of the communities of Carpinteria, Summerlin, Montecito, Santa Barbara City, and County in compliance with preparation and following the safety messages during the Thomas Fire. We look to encourage the same cooperation in the next potential threat. And what I mean by that is the fire agencies are planning mode now, and the potential threat for the water runoff and prediction of this kind of disaster or danger has prepared a pre-attack and pre-event flow response that we would have units in place patrolling during the times of rain and water runoff so that we have good intel from the field. And what this does is means that we will be in unified command, but not necessarily the lead. It will be part of decision-making process as well as developing response to those potential events. As you know, with the flood and with swift water, we have standing by and staged units that include USAR. It would include swift water teams and air resources if necessary. You've already heard that moderate or any rain flow runoff or debris can cause roads to be impassable. You've heard already and demonstrated what the threat can be. But I'm here to tell you that what made success in the Thomas Fire is the preparation that the communities took. They heeded the warnings and looked after the safety messages. And more importantly, we want you to think about this as, if you will, a post-recovery from an earthquake. Have your supplies ready. Be prepared. Keep your cars well stocked. Have supplies at home. You may be cut off for 2 to 3 days with services interrupted, both from response and or from utilities. So our message to you is you've done a great job now and continue to do that. And when we say this, is preparation is key to survival and success. A compliant community is a safe community. So let's work together and do our part. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gina DePinto with the county. Before we allow some questions with the media, and we also will break down and do one-on-one after the press conference and even do demonstrations of the map, I first wanted to thank our wonderful sign language interpreter, Joe Black. We get a lot of feedback on Joe. Thank you. Yes. I also want to let everyone know that if you don't have access to the internet or not quite sure how to use the map, you can call 211. And the operators will actually take your address, plug it into the map, and help direct you and give you the same information that we're providing here today and on the website. 211. For anyone outside of the area code of 805, you can call, I hope I get this right, 800-400-1572. Otherwise, in the 805, just dial 211. I also wanted to announce and make sure that everyone is aware that we are having a community meeting this Monday, January 8th at 5 p.m., in the County Administration Building in the 4th floor hearing room. So these same experts that were available here today will be at the meeting. We're going to go through this. We'll have any new information and updates on weather that, between now and then. And we'll also have a couple computer stations set up. So if you'd like to attend the meeting and actually work with someone to pull that map up, to put your address in, and to learn more about your specific location, we will be there ready to help you. And then also keep your friends and family be talking about this. Make sure that everyone is aware of not only the impending threats to the community, but where to get this information. And also for our Spanish-speaking audience, we're providing a website in Spanish that will be ready by this weekend of all the exact same information that is up in English. And also, as soon as this press conference is over, we'll be doing a separate video done in English and Spanish. So thank you. And with that, I'd like to take a few questions. And if we don't have any, then we'll go offline. So I think that what we're going to do is end the press conference. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Go ahead. Tom, with flood control, and we'll repeat the question. She's asking after the rain event plan for hydromulching. And then after this question and he responds, I think we're going to break down and just do one-on-one. The experts will stay here and be available, and so we can also do some demonstrations. So thank you very much.
So the question, if I understand right, is will we be doing hydromulching like you saw after the Gap and Jesucita fire? The answer to that is no. It's for a number of reasons. One, there isn't the time. That's quite an involved process to get that up and running. Aircraft comes from across the country as well as all the suppliers. And then the topography is much different, and that just doesn't work on steep topography. So individuals on their own hillside certainly can do applications of erosion protection, but as a bulk on the hillside, no, that will not be happening.
Again, thank you. That concludes the press conference, but the Senator Jackson and our other elected officials and all of our experts will wait here and take any of your questions offline. Thanks so much.